How gang rules quietly control California prisons. They had 7 minutes to stop it. No one believed the warning. Stay with this story. What happens next almost didn't get stopped. The metal door slid open for exactly 12 seconds. That was all it took. On the tier, nothing looked wrong. Men stood where they always stood. Voices stayed low. No shouting. No rushing. Just routine. But Officer Daniel Reyes felt it immediately, the kind of silence that pressed instead of relaxed. He checked his watch. 7 minutes until count. Reyes had worked this unit long enough to know that real trouble didn't announce itself. It waited. It blended in. It followed rules so strictly that it became invisible. At the far end of the tier, inmate Marcus Hale sat on the lower bunk of cell 214. Hands folded. Back straight. Eyes forward. He didn't look at the officers. He didn't need to. Hale was not a shot caller. Not officially. No tattoos on his neck. No visible affiliations. On paper, he was low risk, a quiet transfer from another state facility 6 months earlier. But Reyes had learned something about patterns. And Hale had just broken one. When the doors opened for evening movement, Hale didn't stand. He didn't join the flow. He stayed seated, staring at the concrete floor like he was waiting for something to pass. Reyes slowed his walk. In prison, refusal was noise. Reyes stopped outside the cell. "Hale," he said, neutral. "You good?" Hale didn't look up. "Sir," he said quietly, "you need to lock this tier down." Reyes felt a flicker of irritation. Inmates asked for lockdowns for all kinds of reasons. Fear, manipulation, games. "Why?" Reyes asked. Hale finally lifted his head. "Because the count isn't about numbers tonight," he said. "It's about positions." Reyes waited for more. Hale didn't elaborate. He didn't have to. Reyes turned away, telling himself it was nothing. Inmates watched officers the way officers watched inmates. Sometimes they guessed right. Most of the time, they didn't. At the control desk, Sergeant Miller glanced at the movement monitor. "Everything normal?" she asked. "Normal enough," Reyes said. He didn't mention Hale. That omission would matter. Across the tier, men moved exactly where they were supposed to. Not clustering. Not pacing. Each one occupying a specific spot, benches, railings, door frames, like pieces on a board. It looked orderly. Too orderly. Reyes noticed that the phones were empty. So was the TV area. Normally, those spaces filled immediately. Tonight, they were clear. Instead, men stood near doorways. Corners. Blind spots created by decades-old architecture. Reyes felt his pulse pick up. He glanced again at the clock. 5 minutes to count. At cell 214, Hale remained seated. Reyes approached again. "You want to explain what you meant?" Reyes asked. Hale's voice stayed low. "Everyone's already where they need to be," he said. "You just don't see the lines." "What lines?" Reyes asked. Hale's eyes shifted, not to Reyes, but past him. Down the tier. "Rules," he said. "Not yours." Reyes straightened. He stepped back into the corridor and keyed his radio. "Control," he said, requesting a quick review of movement cam 3. There was a pause. "Cam 3 is clean," Miller replied. "No anomalies." Reyes watched the tier with his own eyes. Men weren't moving. That was the anomaly. In most disturbances, tension built through motion. Pacing, whispers, glances. Tonight there was stillness. Controlled stillness. Reyes remembered a training phrase he hadn't thought about in years. Order can be a signal. 3 minutes to count. A younger officer, Patel, leaned toward Reyes. "Something off?" Patel asked. "Maybe," Reyes said. Patel scanned the tier. "Looks calm to me." Reyes nodded, but his attention stayed on patterns. 2 inmates stood shoulder-width apart near the stairwell. Close enough to block, far enough to look casual. Another leaned against the rail above them. A third stood near the shower entrance, pretending to stretch. No eye contact. No talking. But they weren't random. Reyes felt a chill. He turned back toward control. "Sergeant," he said, "recommend brief delay on count." Miller exhaled audibly. On what grounds? Instinct, Reyes said. The pause. Instinct isn't policy, Miller replied. We're already behind schedule. The radio clicked off. Reyes clenched his jaw. 1 minute to count. Hale finally stood. Not abruptly. Not aggressively. He stepped forward just enough for Reyes to see his face clearly. This is the part where you decide, Hale said calmly, whether you want to see it early or clean it up after. What is it? Reyes asked. Hale shook his head slightly. Not a fight, he said. That's the mistake everyone makes. The buzzer sounded. Count began. Doors started cycling. Inmates moved exactly when expected. No delays, no resistance. Everything looked perfect. Reyes felt his stomach drop. Because perfection was the point. As doors sealed and the tier locked down, Miller's voice came over the radio again. Count is green, she said. See? Nothing happened. Reyes didn't respond. He walked to the control desk himself and leaned over the console. Pull yesterday's meal distribution logs, he said. Miller frowned. Why? Please, Reyes said. She tapped through the system. Rows of data filled the screen, tray numbers, delivery times, housing assignments. Reyes scanned the columns. Then he froze. One line didn't match. A meal tray had been rerouted twice. Once before delivery, once after return. No explanation. No correction note. Reyes felt his breath catch. That tray, he said quietly. Who was it assigned to? Miller followed his finger. Cell 214, she said. Hale. Reyes looked back toward the tier. Behind the glass, Hale stood in his cell, hands at his sides, watching calmly. Reyes turned back to the screen. And that reroute, he said. Who authorized it? Miller scrolled. Her face changed. The authorization code didn't belong to kitchen staff. It belonged to an inmate work detail. Reyes felt the weight of it settle in his chest. This wasn't chaos. This was coordination. And when they checked the logs, everything changed. By morning, the tier looked ordinary again. Breakfast trays slid through slots. Doors stayed shut. Voices echoed down concrete the way they always had. If you didn't know where to look, you would never guess anything had happened at all. That was the first mistake. Officer Reyes hadn't slept. The rerouted tray sat in his head like an unfinished sentence. A single deviation in a system built on repetition wasn't random. It was communication. He brought the log printouts to Sergeant Miller just after shift change. This isn't kitchen error, Reyes said. It was deliberate. Miller skimmed the pages, unimpressed. Inmate work details touch food movement all the time, she said. It doesn't mean control. It means access, Reyes replied. And timing. Miller set the papers down. Daniel, she said, lowering her voice, if something serious was happening, we would have seen it. No fights. No contraband. No injuries. That's the point, Reyes said. She shook her head. You're reading intent into coincidence, she said. We can't lock down a unit every time an inmate gets philosophical. Reyes didn't argue. He knew how this worked. Without an incident, there was nothing to escalate. So the logs were filed. And the system moved on. What Reyes didn't see, what no one in administration saw, was how quickly the vacuum filled. By lunch, Hale's cell received its tray on time. No reroute. No anomaly. Perfect compliance. Across the tier, other trays arrived exactly as scheduled. 2 exactly. Every man received the same portions. Same packaging. Same placement. Except for one detail. Reyes noticed it during pickup. Certain trays came back untouched. Not refused. Not delayed. Just unused. And they weren't random. The same faces. The same cells. Spread across the unit in a way that made no sense geographically, unless you understood structure instead of proximity. Reyes flagged the pattern again. This time, he was told to stop digging. Don't manufacture threats, Miller warned. You're seeing shadows. That was the second mistake. Because the system inside the unit had already adjusted. Inmates who didn't follow the informal rules began losing small things. Extra condiments disappeared. Preferred seating vanished. Workout turns got reassigned. No violence. No notes. No confrontations. Just quiet subtraction. One inmate, a younger man named Collins, pressed his call button late that night. "I think someone's messing with my food," he said nervously when Reyes responded. "How?" Reyes asked. "They keep switching trays," Collins said. "Not taking them. Just moving them." Reyes checked the logs. No record of movement. "Are you sure?" Reyes asked. Collins swallowed. "I didn't say anything," he added quickly. "Forget I asked." Reyes felt a familiar frustration. Without documentation, the system defaulted to disbelief. The next morning, Collins refused breakfast. By afternoon, he asked for protective custody. By evening, his bed was empty. No reportable incident had occurred. That absence became the third mistake. Administration treated the transfer as voluntary, a personal decision. Nothing tied it to Hale. Nothing tied it to food. But Reyes noticed something else. After Collins left, the tray anomalies stopped. Every remaining inmate ate. Exactly as expected. Reyes finally got clearance to speak with Hale again, unofficially off the books. He stood outside cell 214 during evening quiet. "You moved someone," Reyes said. Hale didn't deny it. "He moved himself," Hale replied calmly. "I just made the alternative uncomfortable." "With food?" Reyes asked. "With certainty," Hale said. "Food is just the timer." Reyes stared at him. "You're telling me you control people without touching them?" Hale nodded slightly. "You let us build systems," he said. "You just forgot they adapt." Reyes reported the conversation. It went nowhere. Administration framed Hale as manipulative but harmless. All talk, no action. The unit remained open. That decision carried a cost. Over the next week, Reyes watched subtle compliance spread. Men stopped challenging seating assignments that weren't official. They adjusted routines without orders. They waited. Food became the signal. A tray left untouched meant pressure was coming. A tray eaten immediately meant safety. The control didn't require threats. It required predictability. And predictability came from ignoring the early warnings. Reyes finally pushed for an internal review. By the time approval came through, the structure had already stabilized. Not under staff authority, under inmate rules. The investigation team arrived to analyze security failures. They checked cameras. They checked door logs. They checked movement schedules. Everything looked clean. Too clean. Then an analyst pulled up meal distribution data across 3 weeks, side by side, and noticed something no one had wanted to see. The same inmates who controlled movement weren't receiving special treatment. They were receiving consistency. No reroutes. No delays. No errors. Everyone else absorbed the friction. The analyst looked up slowly. "This isn't chaos," she said. "This is governance." Reyes felt the weight of it. The mistake wasn't ignoring a fight. It was misunderstanding what control looked like. And by the time the system recognized it, the rules were already enforced, without a single punch thrown. The review committee arrived with binders, not alarms. They expected to find a gap, a missed camera angle, a scheduling error, a rogue officer. Something procedural they could isolate, correct, and move past. Instead, they found order. Not the kind written into policy, but the kind that survives without it. Hale sat behind glass during the formal interview, hands folded, posture unchanged. He wasn't defensive. He wasn't proud. He spoke the way someone does when explaining weather patterns. "You're looking for a crime," he said evenly. "There isn't one." The lead investigator, Karen Liu, leaned forward. "You displaced an inmate," she said. "You manipulated resources." "I observed behavior," Hale replied. "And responded." "With what authority?" Liu asked. Hale met her eyes. "The authority you stopped exercising." That answer made the room go quiet. Liu shifted tactics. "Explain the food," she said. Hale nodded once. "Food is the only thing everyone needs at the same time," he said. "Schedules change. Doors open late. Counts get sloppy. But food arrives. Always." He paused. When food changes, people notice. Lou glanced at her notes. You rerouted trays. Not often, Hale said. Just enough to test awareness. And when someone didn't comply? She asked. I didn't punish them, Hale replied. I removed predictability. Reyes watched from the back of the room, the pieces finally locking together. No threats. No commands. Only signals. Lou pressed harder. You're saying inmates enforced rules without being told to? Yes, Hale said, because rules that feel inevitable don't need enforcement. The committee reviewed weeks of data after that interview. Meal timing, tray returns, behavioral logs, transfers. What emerged wasn't chaos, it was alignment. Every inmate who adapted early experienced stability. Those who didn't felt pressure, then isolation. Colin's transfer hadn't been random. It had been instructional. The system hadn't failed because it was broken. It failed because it was predictable. The final report didn't use the word gang. It used informal governance structures. It acknowledged that control had shifted quietly, not through violence, but through influence over routine. The recommendations were clear. Randomize food distribution windows. Rotate kitchen assignments more aggressively. Decouple meal access from unit hierarchy. Increase staff presence during non-critical hours. In other words, disrupt certainty. Hale was moved within 48 hours. Not to punishment, to containment. A different unit, different schedule. No kitchen adjacency. No continuity. The control dissolved almost immediately. The tier returned to staff authority within days. No retaliation. No backlash. Just absence. Reyes stood on the unit during the first week after the changes. Men ate when told. Trays came and went. Silence returned, but it was a different kind of silence. One that belonged to the institution again. Before Hale was transferred, Reyes was granted one final conversation. You knew this wouldn't last, Reyes said. Hale considered that. Everything lasts, he said. Just not in the same form. You're not worried? Reyes asked. About losing control? Hale said. No. Why not? Because the system will forget why this worked, Hale replied. And then it will become vulnerable again. Reyes didn't answer. Months later, the case was closed. No charges. No public incident. Just a classified training update circulated quietly through administrative channels. Most officers skimmed it. A few understood it. The lesson wasn't about gangs. It wasn't even about food. It was about attention. Control doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it settles in when no one is looking, built from routines so ordinary they feel harmless. And by the time it's recognized, it's already been accepted. That realization stayed with Reyes long after the unit moved on. Because nothing about what happened required force. Only patience. And observation. The system corrected itself this time. But as the report noted in its final line, this could happen again. The report landed quietly. No press conference. No emergency announcement. Just a stamped file moving from one office to another, marked reviewed, then archived. On paper, nothing dramatic had happened. No riot. No lockdown. No official incident that required public explanation. And yet, inside the prison, everything had shifted. Housing assignments began to change, not abruptly, but deliberately. Inmates who had shared tiers for years were separated without explanation. Meal schedules were adjusted by minutes. Recreation groups were quietly reshuffled. To most people, these were routine administrative tweaks. To those living inside the system, they were unmistakable signals. Someone had been listening. The investigator who had followed the warning to its source noticed the pattern first. Not in a single decision, but across dozens of small ones. Movement approvals that once stalled were now denied without comment. Transfers that used to take weeks were suddenly expedited. Paperwork that had once been ignored was now double-checked, initialed, and logged. The system hadn't admitted failure. It never did. Instead, it adapted. What troubled the investigator most wasn't the confirmation that gangs exerted control. That reality had been documented for decades. What unsettled him was how efficiently the institution responded, Not by dismantling the system, but by learning from it. Gang rules were never written down in policy manuals, yet they were treated with the same seriousness as official regulations. When a conflict was anticipated, administrators acted before it surfaced. When an informal hierarchy shifted, staff adjusted supervision levels accordingly. The prison had not reclaimed control. It had learned how to coexist with it. In interviews conducted weeks later, inmates described the change without being prompted. The language was careful, vague. No one named names. No one explained mechanisms. But the message was consistent. The rules didn't disappear, one inmate said quietly. They just got quieter. Meals continued to arrive on schedule. Doors opened and closed on time. Count procedures remained unchanged. From the outside, order was intact. But beneath that surface, influence flowed through channels that no camera could fully capture. The key figure, the one who had first noticed the pattern, was moved to a different unit without explanation. No disciplinary report followed. No formal acknowledgement of his warning appeared in his file. Officially, nothing he said had mattered. Unofficially, it had changed everything. He understood that before the transfer paperwork was finalized. In his new unit, the atmosphere was calmer. Predictable. The kind of calm that came not from safety, but from agreement. Lines were clearly drawn. Expectations were unspoken but enforced. He kept his distance, followed routine, and said nothing more. That was the unspoken rule now. Observe, adapt, survive. For the staff, the lesson was more uncomfortable. Training modules were updated with vague language about informal influence and group dynamics. Intelligence briefings emphasized pattern recognition over incident response. The goal was no longer to eliminate gang control. That ambition had quietly faded, but to anticipate it. Control, it seemed, had become a shared responsibility. Outside the facility, oversight committees reviewed the same data and reached familiar conclusions. Resources were limited. Overcrowding remained unresolved. Structural reforms were discussed, then postponed. No one denied the problem. No one claimed ownership of the solution. The system continued forward, reinforced by routine and silence. Years later, when portions of the internal review were referenced in unrelated court filings, the warning resurfaced, stripped of names, reduced to timelines and procedural notes. Readers unfamiliar with prison life would miss its significance entirely, but those who understood the environment recognized it instantly. This wasn't a story about violence. It wasn't even about gangs. It was about control, how it forms, how it shifts, and how institutions learn to live with forces they cannot fully govern. The prison still stands. The rules are still enforced. The doors still lock every night. But inside, power doesn't always wear a uniform. And the most effective systems are often the ones no one officially admits exist. This could happen again. If this story shook you, the next one will be worse.